Waiting for Garland. Let's talk about whether incoming Attorney General Merrick Garland is the right person for this moment in time. Whether he will move us toward much needed and long overdue justice. Because justice matters. Hey all, Glenn Kirshner here. So we the people have been waiting for justice to visit Donald Trump and his criminal associates for a very long time now. And you know, it seems like we're always waiting for the next person or the next group or the next institution or the next thing to deliver justice to us. First, it was Bob Mueller, who found 10 felony crimes by Donald Trump, 10 counts of obstruction of justice, and it wasn't enough. And then we had a Senate impeachment trial, Donald Trump's first Senate impeachment trial, and we had some hope that maybe the Senate would hold a criminal president accountable, and it wasn't enough. We turned to the courts. Maybe the courts would dislodge a criminal president before his term ran out, and it wasn't enough. You know, it's kind of like we've been waiting for Godot, right? Something that never comes. And now, of course, we're waiting for Merrick Garland, the incoming Attorney General. But I think we should have learned by now that no one person, no one group, no one institution alone is going to deliver justice. Justice is a team sport. It takes all of us. But let's look at Merrick Garland for a moment and see if he'll make a good captain of the team, right? Because as the head of the Department of Justice, as the Attorney General for the United States of America, in a very real sense, he will be the captain of the team that will be seeking justice for what we the people have suffered at the hands of Donald Trump and his criminal cabal over the past 4 years. And I want to use as a jumping off point an article, a story by Nina Totenberg, the renowned NPR journalist. And about 5 years ago, Ms. Totenberg did a story about Merrick Garland right as he was being nominated by President Barack Obama to be the next Supreme Court Justice. And this story ran before we knew that Mitch McConnell would violate the Constitution by depriving Merrick Garland of a constitutionally mandated advice and consent hearing, denying him a confirmation hearing. But I want to look at just a few passages of Nina Totenberg's story because I think it's a pretty good measure of the man that Merrick Garland is. The story discusses Merrick Garland's role in the investigation and prosecution of the nation's deadliest domestic terrorism incident, the Oklahoma City bombing. And I want to just read a few passages from Ms. Totenberg's story. 21 years ago, this story was published 5 years ago, so we're talking about 26 years ago now, but the story reads, 21 years ago, the nation was rocked by the largest domestic terrorism attack it had ever experienced. A bomb at the Alfred P. Murrah Federal Building in Oklahoma City killed 168 people, including 19 children, in a daycare center on the ground floor. Within days, Merrick Garland would arrive on the scene to supervise the investigation and prosecution. For Garland, the bombing would be a defining moment. And here are some comments that Merrick Garland made in a Rose Garden ceremony at the time he was nominated by Barack Obama to be a Supreme Court justice. Quote, "We promised that we would find the perpetrators, that we would bring them to justice, and that we would do it all in a way that honored the Constitution," Garland said, his voice cracking. Because McVeigh, Timothy McVeigh, one of the Oklahoma City bombers, because McVeigh and his collaborators had moved across many states in executing their plot, grand jury investigations were springing up in a half dozen different states. There were competing local, state, and federal agencies involved, including agencies that had lost men and women in the bombing. But the Justice Department was determined there would be one investigation only. The FBI would take the lead, and Merrick Garland would supervise it all from Oklahoma City. And here's a quote from the Oklahoma U.S. Attorney at the time. Quote, "There's a lot of potential for territorialism, for people to say, you're stepping on my toes, this is my area, this is my city, this is my FBI office," recalled Patrick Ryan, who was the U.S. Attorney in Oklahoma City. Merrick was able to navigate that, and I don't think many people could have done that. And here's a quote from another DOJ official at the time. Quote, "People wanted to give us evidence that we couldn't lawfully take. So Merrick was the person saying, no, for every piece of evidence, we're going to have a subpoena, a search warrant. We're going to do this by the book." Frank Keating, the governor of Oklahoma at the time and a Republican, gives the credit to Merrick Garland. In his Oklahoma City oral history, Merrick Garland said he learned an important lesson about the new world of terrorism that the U.S. was then entering. And talking of this domestic terrorism investigation some 26 years ago, here's what Merrick Garland said, quote, "We made it up as we were going along, and it was clear that when it was over, we couldn't do that again. We had to have a system. And when Garland got back to Washington, D.C., the Justice Department began in earnest to develop that system. It's a system that has been continually perfected and used since then for everything from mass shootings to 9/11. Now, that's just some of the Nina Totenberg story from 5 years ago when Merrick Garland was nominated by President Obama to be a Supreme Court justice. Of course, that would never come to pass. But let me ask this. Is it some kind of karmic coincidence that the man who headed up what was an unprecedented domestic terrorism attack will now head up the Department of Justice as it investigates, indicts, holds accountable the people who launched an insurrectionist attack on the U.S. Capitol, on our very democracy, an attack incited by a criminal president? So as I say, folks, justice is a team sport. But I believe Merrick Garland will make a good team captain. I believe he will move us in the direction of justice. And justice matters. And as always, folks, thank you for tuning into these daily videos. If you'd like to more formally support our all-volunteer efforts, our content, you can go over to patreon.com. You can sign up to become a patron. And if you do, I will send you some Team Justice stickers and a personal handwritten note of thanks. You can also find me over on Facebook, Justice Matters with Glenn Kirshner, and of course on Twitter, all day and night, trying to answer your legal questions as best I can. On Twitter, it's at Glenn Kirshner 2. So as always, folks, please stay safe. Please stay tuned. And I look forward to talking with you all again tomorrow.